Hello there. I want to give you a quick rundown on what is known as the rhetorical triangle. This is a notion concept developed by Aristotle in his Rhetoric, and it is very crucial to understanding writing about writing because these are the fundamental components of of all communication, really. What is helpful as a piece of background information about this is that when it came to rhetoric, Aristotle and many others of his day established academies to teach rhetoric because people had to defend themselves in the court of public opinion, which was also the court of law. And so not many people had the inherent ability to do this. And the supposition of this course, as with the academies of Aristotle's day, is that these things can be taught. So the first thing we're going to look at is in the triangle. It's got three parts, 3 points. As you see from the arrows pointing each way, all of them are interdependent. They cannot be broken apart really for in individual ways, and I'll explain how. The first at the top, and these could be in any order. You could take that triangle and flip it around and have it be however you like. I put the Aristotelian notion of ethos. This is the writer, the messenger, the speaker, call it what you will. Ethos is what is embodied in the source of where the information is coming from. And what is key here is that ethos should not be dependent upon the person. So you should not listen to some famous person because that person is famous, but rather ethos is to be derived from the lower left there, the logos. So the content of the communication act, of the discourse, as we call it, is what is supposed to determine ethos. I would say in contemporary popular culture, especially celebrity driven culture, this is exactly the opposite of how it should be. We listen, or actually, I don't know if we listen, but companies use famous people to sell things, not because of what is coming through in the act of communication, but simply because we look up to, admire, believe, follow, choose the verb of your choice there. Famous people. We're attracted to those famous people, and they play on that attraction. But really, in a traditional rhetorical sense, these people, their communication in that act is not necessarily following in the Aristotelian sense based on that particular act of communication. So ethos, it's the messenger, it's the person behind it. How do we see this? Um, in your paper, you can damage your ethos by presenting incorrect information. You can damage your ethos by not running a spell check. You can damage your ethos by providing shoddy, easily discredited information. So there's a lot of ways you can damage it. The building of the ethos is much more difficult to explain, but it's about organization, understanding the needs of the audience, and really, that's what we're doing this writing about. Writing focus on the course, so as you understand the rhetorical situation, that's a way you build your ethos. As you understand your audience and give them what they need, that's a way you build your ethos. So, those are rather nebulous, I understand, but unfortunately, because those are so context dependent, that's the way it goes. So the next thing we'll chat about is logos, and that's the actual act of communication for the most part in here. That's going to be the essays you write. In some respects, as we work with each other, it'll be the discussions you engage in, that sort of thing. But logos is the message. In the writing about writing thing, it's also the purpose kind of thing. So, what is the point here, and how does that point, how does that purpose get addressed with that message? with the logos. So, but essentially, you all probably know the word logo, which is a design of whatever kind of shape or form for a particular brand, typically. Um, and so, logos is the words. It's what is on the page. But remember, what is on the page creates ethos, and the reliability, that kind of thing. So pathos is considered the audience, the reader, the listener, call it what you will. And so you really have to, again, in the writing about writing approach, take into account the needs of the audience. One of my fundamental admonitions or maxims is that it's the writer's job to make things easy for the reader or the listener. So you don't want to leave it for your reader to have to connect many dots, and you don't want to have them figure out which dots need connecting. You want to figure as much of that out as possible. So you want to strive as a writer to meet the needs of the reader with regard to the purpose of whatever act of communication you're involved in. So that's essential there. So you really want to understand your reader. You want to do your best to meet their expectations. In a lot of ways, this is guesswork, but it's got to be educated guesswork. So it's something that comes with it. You have to think, well, what would a reader in this situation want? I think I've mentioned I've done a hiking story that will be published at the beginning of October. And I had to think, okay, what will somebody who reads this outdoor publication want to know about this hike? Well, they would want to know how long it is, how strenuous it is, what's the reward of reaching the top, that kind of thing. So the fundamental reader, my fundamental audience, within the audience of this outdoor publication is people who are interested in finding new hikes. What would they need to know in order to, enjoy reading about, and maybe I can entice them to take this hike. And you'll have to read it yourself at Out There Monthly, and tell me, did it work? Are you a casual hiker? Did this appeal to you? What's going to work there? Or somebody looking for a day hike in Spokane? You tell me. So anyhow, how well I've connected with those readers. Well, one of my readers there is also the editor, and he said I did a good job. So I must have done a good job, and he'll send me some money, but not much. So now all of this, the ethos, pathos, logos happens within a context. And I've put up the Greek word for context, atechnomoi, and so nothing happens in a vacuum. And so we can look at what is the context, the atechnomoi for our writing task. Well, I will give you a particular context, but that all is happening within a broader context of your college education, needing to be successful in the portfolio process, and that sort of thing. Meeting the needs. Your reader is going to be me. It's going to be your classmates. But it's also going to be other English faculty at Spokane Falls, because we do the portfolio process, and so you want to impress those people. So and just as a side note, it would be nice to have my triangle look like a four-sided pyramid with a triangular base, and the back of that, which we don't have here, is memory. For Aristotle and men of his time, they did not write, rather they spoke. They were orators. That would be a connection here, but we don't have to worry so much about memory. That's what Aristotle kind of didn't like writing, because it weakened our reliance on memory. And for him, that was a bad thing, and that was the beginning of the end of civilization as he knew it. But we think a little differently today. Unless you take a speech class, then you may have to memorize some stuff, and there's other things to memorize. But anyhow, that's something we've left out intentionally, and we don't really worry about it too much. So this is the rhetorical triangle. It is key to writing about writing, to understanding the rhetorical situation. In many respects, this triangle within the round blue space represents the rhetorical situation, but it also includes everything. And so the better you understand this, the better you take this into account, the more conscious thought you give this, generally speaking, the better you're going to be able to meet the needs of whatever communication act you're involved in. So as always, if you've got questions, you've got to let me know. So I will let you go now. Bye-bye.